Welcome to Stuff and Whiskey. I'm Josh.
And I'm Erin.
And today we're talking about the do's and don'ts of shipping glass from a 20-year shipping industry professional.
That's him. Welcome to the channel, bringing a real-world perspective to the real-world whiskey consumer.
Today we're talking about shipping glass products, in particular, some of the do's and don'ts, some of the legalities behind alcohol and shipping. I am a 20-year industry shipping professional.
Yes.
Been at a shipping company for a long time, and I see a lot of stuff talked about online that just doesn't really matter. So we're going to get down to the brass tacks of the best practices when you're shipping a glass product that might have liquid inside of it. But before we get into that, we got to get into the first sip, which is where we try something totally blind that's drawn at random from our single sample pool. We've also never had anything in that pool before, so there's no familiarity. It could be high price, low price, hard to find,
low proof,
hard to find, easy to find. We don't know. This removes all the hype and the bias, and you get our completely honest reactions to it. So with that said, let's get into it.
All right.
I will say the color looks quite nice on this.
This kind of smells like cherry honey.
Oh, I like that. I wasn't going down that path, but that's both of those notes are in here.
Like if you drop like a cherry cough drop in honey, it's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I was going more along the lines of like a banana pudding with a bunch of Nilla wafers in it.
Oh,
and then also it's in a big bowl and there's a big piece of oak sticking out of it, and then somebody dumped a bottle of bourbon in there.
Okay.
And they're stirring the bourbony banana pudding with a big piece of oak.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
I'm not getting banana, but cool.
But now that you mentioned the cherry and the honey, that stuff is definitely there as well. What is surprising to me is how much is going on in the glass and how rich it smells. But there is some alcohol forwardness to it.
There is.
The alcohol is jumping out of the glass.
It is. And
you kind of have to pick your way through that to get to some of the other stuff, because there is a little bit of sharpness there. All right, let's get into the palate and see what we're working with.
I'm standing by my cherry honey with alcohol. There's alcohol forward.
Yeah.
But it tastes like a honey stick. Like I'm eating a honey stick right after I put a cherry cough drop in my mouth. Yeah.
And I'm still going with my Nilla wafers with the oak, but it's getting more cherry on the palate. Like that, to me, the Nilla wafers was forward on the nose, and then that stuff that the cherry honey was on the back burner. In the glass on the palate, it's much more cherry honey forward. Let's get into one more sip. Usually the first sip is an acclimation sip to what's actually happening in the glass. And now we can actually start discerning a little bit more about what we're working with.
That second sip kind of went up my nose a little bit.
Yeah, there's almost like a carbonated beverage effect to it. Not that you get that intensity of carbonation, but there's like an effervescence to it.
Like an aftertaste of carbonation. Not aftertaste, but after feel of carbonation.
Yeah, there's a little bit of effervescence to it in that sense. It's very sweet. It's very fruit forward. And what is anchoring that fruit is the oak. The alcohol did tame down on that second sip. Let's get into the third sip just before we give this thing some ratings. That's what we call them.
Yeah, still kind of stayed the same. It got a little more oaky.
Yeah. I'm not sure I like that stuff on the finish. That effervescent. It's kind of giving me like a little bit of an aftertaste of like a diet soda beverage.
I'm not getting that.
Like that little bit of that aspartame that I get sometimes on some really sweet bourbons.
I'm not getting aspartame. I'm just kind of getting more like carbonation in the roof of my mouth, like that feel. Yeah.
The experience overall is really good, aside from that kind of one thing that I just talked about that I didn't really love. The flavor does roll in. It's very bold. It's very dense in flavor, and it does swell up really nicely on the palate. But I think the alcohol and that little bit of a aftertaste that I'm getting from it, I'm not totally in love with. Yeah. With that said, are you ready to give the thing some ratings on nose, flavor, and experience? Okay, what do you got?
So I'm going to give this a thumbs up across the board. It was good. Nose, flavor, experience. Nothing crazy, but solid. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up on the nose. I really enjoy the nose, and that's my favorite thing about the glass. I am going to give the flavors a thumbs up. On experience, I'm going to give it
Go with your gut.
I'm going to give it a just okay.
It's okay.
I'm going to give it a just okay only because I don't like that aftertaste that I'm getting on the finish, and that effervescence that I'm getting in the mid palate isn't my favorite. And there is an alcohol presence there that I'm just not totally in love with. So
that's fair.
Yeah, it's not that it's bad, which is why I'm kind of hesitant on saying just okay rather than thumbs up. But just for my personal preferences, it's not my favorite. And so I'm going to mark it down a little bit on that. Let's find out what we've been sipping. This is this is Old Forester Birthday Bourbon from 2020.
Oh, wow.
It's 98 proof. It's $130. Oh my gosh. These are unobtainium, first off. They're so hard to get your hands on. If you get your hands on it, it's about $130. But a lot of stores will mark them up and they'll gouge the pricing. And on secondary, they'll go for like, I don't even know, around $1,000.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe $600 to $1,400 would be a fair range for what some of these go, depending on how hyped up they are.
Okay.
The overall package that you're getting does present itself as something special. I just don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
At least this particular year. This is the very first birthday bourbon I've ever had. This isn't like 2020's in our pool, but we've had other years.
We've never had any of
We've never had any of them.
Yeah.
It is really good, but it's not quite to my personal preferences.
Let's do the rest of the ratings then.
Okay, so retail and consumer ratings are what we give over here once we know what we're drinking. And the retail side of the equation is the pricing availability. And the consumer side of the equation is, would we as consumers buy it again or not if we had the opportunity? So I'm just going to go into, like, it's thumbs down on availability, but the price, if you like what's in the glass, is $130. So where are you at on retail?
For me,
you could get it for $130 in a lottery situation.
For me personally, $130 is a lot to spend. So I'm a thumbs down.
Yeah.
And that's a lot to spend on something that I don't absolutely love. If I absolutely love this and it was 2 thumbs up across the board, then I probably would spend that, but it's not. So thumbs down.
On retail.
On retail.
And consumer, would you buy it for $130?
No.
If you had the opportunity to.
No, thumbs down.
Okay. I'm going to give it a thumbs down on retail as well. It's just so hard to find. Even if it were my favorite whiskey in the world, it'd still get a thumbs down on retail because it's so hard to find. But would I buy it if I had an opportunity to? Even having tasted it right now and not being totally in love with it, if I had the opportunity to buy this for $130, thumbs up.
Why?
Because I love the nose so much, and I would absolutely...
You would spend $130 just to smell something?
Well, I would like to have the bottle around too, to share with guests. I'd like to have it for the channel, to put in blinds. But even if we didn't do the channel, I'd still like to have it around for guests. So that's where the hype and the unavailability can play in.
That's where the FOMO comes in.
Yeah, but it can play in. I'm just being honest. Like, I would absolutely buy... I almost want to go 2 thumbs up on consumer, because if, let's say, my whiskey budget for the month was sitting at $60, my miscellaneous budget, and I had an opportunity to buy one of these for $130, I would probably be asking you, if the CFO of the family, like, hey, I know the budget's like 60 left.
Which you do already all the time.
If the bottle's special, yeah. Or if it's hard to...
Which happens every month.
Shout out to John and Renee Peets for hooking us up with this sample.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Local friends, and they actually gave us a sample of this and 2021, which we will be trying on my birthday or around there. So we'll find out what's what with that and see if we have any of a different experience on this. That'll probably be over on Patreon though. Speaking of Patreon, that's where you can get 2 additional episodes every week. If you want to check the video description below, you can find out more over there. We do all kinds of stuff as well. That's our community element. And you can get plugged into our blind flight nights that we do with our community. Sample shares, giveaways, all kinds of stuff are down there in the video description.
And while you're down there, if you want to check out the link to stuffandwhiskey.com, you can get some merch. We got t-shirts, hats, drinkware, all kinds of things. So check it out.
All right, let's get into our main topic, talking about... Actually, I'm going to keep this glass over here.
Okay, I'm not.
I'll take yours if you want.
No, I'm just going to set it aside for right now.
All right, so 20 years in the shipping industry. I am going to go ahead and tell you right now
what have you learned?
A lot of the stuff I see online perpetuated about shipping glass products is... I don't know where it came from.
Hooey.
to be quite honest with you, I'm not sure. So
it's specifically glass products that have liquids in them.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I'm not bringing out a tape gun, and we're not doing a demonstration here, because what I'm going to tell you is super easy. First things first, shipping alcohol is illegal. Okay? And you can't just take a bottle of alcohol into a UPS facility or a FedEx facility or a post office and ask them to ship it for you. They're going to decline. You're not going to get arrested, but they're not going to ship it for you. So that's first and foremost. It's prohibited in the system. However, liquids in glass bottles are not prohibited. You could ship all kinds of stuff. So my professional advice would be, if you're going to ship alcohol, you probably don't take it to a place and ship it. But if you're going to ship other liquids in glass bottles, then that's your prerogative. And there are some best practices. And it's the same thing that I would recommend you ship, period. Follow the same procedures always, because I work in the shipping industry. I'm surprised anything gets to where it's going without getting broken, because there's so many packages traveling through the system at all of these major shipping facilities. Yep. And it's a wonder that anything makes it to where it's going. But that's a testament to the logistics that these companies put in place to get things where they're going. So as far as I'm concerned, best practices are to use a good box, a good cardboard box. And if you want to really go above and beyond, double box it. Oh. That way you've got extra padding. But that's not totally necessary, I don't think. And I don't ship things that way either. What I do, whether I'm shipping a bottle of olive oil or hot sauce, or if I'm shipping some plates to a grandmother who lost them or something, I don't know what I'm shipping. Shipping all kinds of stuff. But if I'm shipping things, I just want to make sure that the main thing is very well padded and protected. And then I want to make sure that I have a solid 1 inch of padding around the product at an absolute minimum. Okay. Minimum 2, 3, 4 inches is better. And then you want, when you are finished packaging that product, you want to be able to pick up that box, shake it, turn it upside down, flip it around, spin it around the world like a helicopter or whatever, and
shake it like a Polaroid picture,
and hear no movement whatsoever. It should be locked in there.
Movement of your bottle, not of the liquid or things in the bottle. That doesn't matter.
Who said we're shipping bottles? We're just shipping things.
Your glass product. If there's liquid in it, it doesn't matter if you hear that, because no one cares.
Right. That's true. That could not be more true. You don't need to put noisemakers in there. You don't need to put, whatever. Like, don't just ship the thing that you're shipping. Yeah. Just ship it. Because I'm going to tell you, working in the shipping industry for 20 years and being a delivery driver for half of that time, we're too busy. They're all too busy. They don't have time to stop and think about what's in your box. They're just trying to get the box to you and then move on to the next box. I was delivering 300-400 boxes a day when I was delivering packages. I ain't got time. Ain't nobody got time to worry about what's in your box. And even if I thought I knew what was in your box, it doesn't even matter, because I'm not going to do anything about it. Yeah. The policy for all shipping companies is, if it's leaking or emitting fumes, you remove it from service, or if it's damaged, you remove it from service. Otherwise, deliver the package. That's what you do. That's your job.
That's the job.
So you don't need any ancillary stuff inside your box, making a bunch of noise, glugging or clanking or whatever. Doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be, you don't have to wrap glass with like 15 layers or rolls of saran wrap. It's a good idea to keep things leak proof if you're shipping a liquid product. And I think if you're shipping anything that's glass, if you're shipping a plate to Nana across the states or something.
Why does Nana always have to have the plates? What if I want a plate?
Well, if you want a plate, that works too. If you want to send Erin a plate, then I would probably wrap it in something that if the glass plate were to get broken, that it would
protect it from
the shards wouldn't come out and cut the box, which would then have it removed from service. Yeah. But as long as there's no leaks, or there's no fumes, or there's no damage to the box, which you can't control the damage to the box, that's a us problem. Yeah. Then everything else is going to get to where it's going, and nobody's going to pull it out of a lineup because of what they think might be in it. We just don't have the time. I will say that As far as materials go, I said a good cardboard box, like not a raggedy kind of well-used one, but like get a nice sturdy, stiff new one.
A new unused box, probably.
Yeah, or fairly lightly used. It still has some structure to it. That's always a good idea. Packaging peanuts, as much of a pain as they are to the person receiving them, do an exceptionally good job if you're dealing with something that's fragile. As long as you pack enough in there where there's zero movement, and barring that, bubble wrap you can't go wrong with. It can be a little bit more pricey. Just buy it on Amazon. You can get a big old roll or 2 or 3 for pretty inexpensive, and it works wonders, as does that kind of brown craft paper, thick. You just ball that stuff up. The whole point is just to make sure that everything is well padded on all sides, and that there's no movement once the package is sealed up. And don't cheap out. Use good packaging tape, because I promise you, if the tape comes off in shipping, you're going to have problems getting the package delivered. So make sure it's well sealed and locked in, and it'll get where it's going. No worries and no fuss. I hope that was helpful. We get these emails asking us this question from time to time. I'm just going to start sending the link to this video when I have to reply to those. But yeah, you can hit us up if you do have any specific questions above and beyond this video at the email in the video description below. That's where you can also contact us about the charity fundraiser that we do every October, where we raise money for mental health through GoFundMe for the charity organization To Write Love on Her Arms. Everybody is affected by mental health, and you watching this gives us a little bit of a platform, and we decide to use that for good. And what we need for the October fundraiser is bottle donations. Bottle donations help us raise money. Last year we raised $15,000 with the help of the community, and this year we're trying to do even more.
I think that's it for the main topic. What do we have for other stuff today?
So I just finished a book.
Oh, that's right, you did.
I read a book. Nope, didn't read it.
You
Definitely didn't read
listened to it.
I listened to a book because I drive a lot.
Audiobook.
Yeah, I drive a lot, so I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And I just finished The Subtle Art of Not Giving a... Oh, by the way, I listen to this on overdrive. This is like a perma plug. Anytime I'm talking about a book, Erin actually reads books because she's smart and stuff. I just listen to them.
No, I listen too, and you don't have to be smart, or just because you listen doesn't mean you're not smart.
But Overdrive is a free app, and all you got to have is a library card, and you can check out audiobooks for free. You don't have to do the Audible. We're not getting sponsored by Audible anytime soon, because we're undercutting them by telling people you can get free books on Overdrive.
Well, it's the library. The library's been around for forever.
Yeah, and the app is free. You just got to have a library card, but then you can get books like The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. And I went into this book because I thought it was a business book. I thought it was like a book related to some of the other books that have been of interest to me, like some of Seth Godin's books that I like a lot, like Purple Cow and things like that. It's actually more of like a self-help style book, but it's done in a way that isn't your typical self-help style. Yeah. So even though I went in thinking it was one thing, and that's my fault for not doing my research on the book I was listening to, and I got a little bit of the switcheroo, but at first I wasn't really bought into the book. It's a short listen. It's only like 5 hours. And I was probably the first hour into it, and I was like, man, this is just not for me.
Not for you,
like, I'm pushing 40. Obviously, the book title, if you're sensitive to the book title, don't bother going down this road anyways. Yeah. But if you're fine with the book title, I'm fine with it as long as it's purposeful. So when I was like 20 or 25, I probably would have loved some of the early chapter gratuitousness. Is that a word?
Yeah, I think so.
Gratuity is tips. Gratuitousness is like going a little above and beyond. It seemed like a little bit of shock and awe for the sake of shock and awe rather than to actually make a point. But with that said, once he actually gets into the meat of the book, like chapter 3 and beyond, it gets really good. Yeah. And what I really liked about the book is it tells you, it kind of walks you through this idea that you can't care about everything. We live in a society that tells you that you're supposed to care about everything. You're supposed to care about what your neighbors think, and you're supposed to care about what social media thinks, and you're supposed to care about this and that, and care about what people think about your bourbon and your bottle collection and your whiskey channel and all this stuff. Yeah. And the book kind of strips that down and focuses on setting values and making sure that you're always adhering to those values. So having values that you decide to put weight in that matter to you that you can control.
So that's what you care about, as opposed to trying to care about everything. You create your values, or you figure out your values and care about those things.
Right. And then you don't the subtle art of not giving an F about any of the other values. You don't care about
the rest. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And it even gets a little philosophical in the end, which I like. You might want to tune out of the last chapter if you start getting into that and it's not really hitting for you.
Yeah.
But I actually really enjoyed it, and it gave me some really interesting things to think about. And I think that's the most interesting thing about the book. Whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, it will make you think.
Okay.
I will put a link to the book in the video description below. You can get more information down there. And that's going to be it for this week, guys.
Thank you for watching.
Till next week, guys.
Cheers.